So, students, again I am with you and going to talk about the measurement and motion topic. And here, till now, we have discussed about what are the different stories about the measurement, how this measurement take place, what are the necessity of the measurement, and also we have talked about the unit, standard unit, and their the measurement. The meaning of difference between unit as well as the measurement. After that, we have discussed how these measurements for you used these measurement for the curved line. If we want to make a measure a curved line, then what is the procedure to make use uh, how we measure the curved line and what are the different conventions for measuring the things like distance and length of any object. What are the different tools in ancient time we use to measure the things, and how these measurement can be measure whenever we want to measure any kind of the object. What are the correct procedure to measure the things? If that the procedure is not correct, there is a one kind of the error is take place, and that error is basically a parallax error. Now when all after that we have talked about the motion, what is motion, what is the requirement of the motion, what is the significance of the motion, and how many types of different types of motions are there as per syllabus. We have till now we have discussed all those things. Now the another last important things which is also very important, as well as to understand these points is very essential, since it is a very basic kind of the things which we have to understand about the measuring the time and their necessity and ancient time, which kind of the tools are used to measure the time. Now here I am starting here these things. Now here the measuring time. Measuring time means what? How the times are measured. Like we can measure a length, we can measure a distance. Then how the measure the times? So there are the two things which I have shown in this slide, where you can see whenever we want to measure a time, then it is required like a watch to measure the time now which we are using currently, that things are mentioned here. And the calendar is talk about the month, in which month these the which date are there. Like in February 2007, Sundays was 4, 11, 18th and 25. Mondays was this time. All these things are mentioned here. And the big and dark hand tells us the minute. The big and dark tells us minute means this point is this big, that is the big and dark. This is minute hands, and the small dark is our hand. This is our hand. This is our hand. And long gold hand tells us the second. This one is long gold. This turn kind of the needle is called as a second. Now, to understand all these things, first there are the kind of the reading that is called the analog reading. That means which kind of the needle is basically shown is minute, which kind is shown is hour, and which kind is shown in second. That is the important. And here the how the minute is related to second, second is related to hour, hour is related to second. All these things are given here, and I think you also know all these things, like 1 second is equal to 1 minute is equal to 60 second, and 1 hour is equal to 60 minute, and 60 minute gets converted into 36 100 second. Now when we talk about one day, in one day there are the 24 hours, there are 24 hours, and if we convert this 24 hours multiplied by 36, then it converted into the 86,400 seconds. Now when we talk about in 1 week, 1 week is equal to 7 days, 7 days is equal to a second. This must take place in the Gaussian year. Gorian year is called the 665 days, 5 hours, and that is 49 minutes and 12 seconds. That this much. And if we concluded in the second, converted this time into second, that the figure will comes around 31 lakhs 55,000 uh, 3 crores 15 lakhs 56,952 seconds. That much of time will cover. Now here, time is the unit that measure how long. What is the meaning of time? Basically, how long it takes to do anything. That means if we want to do anything, how much time, how long take to complete this kind of the things, and that is basically a time. Now the distance is measured with respect to time. Always whenever we required we want to measure the distance at that time, the distance is always measured with respect to time. It is not there if time is going on but there is a no distance, it is not possible. So if time is there, there will be some distance covered by any object. It may be rest, it may be moving object, then it is called as distance. So without time, the other quantity cannot be measured. That's why it provides the basic things by which we depends. That means time is independent factor and other factors are dependent factors. So here the time is independent factor. Like that, if we, this if there is a this kind of the things in which sands are filled, and how much time this whole sand which is in filled in upper part of this, how much time, how long to take this sand gets in this kind this pot, this space, how long time how long it will take from this glass jar to into this glass jar, and this is all about the time. Now if an object is moving, if there is a object is moving with some speed for the time interval, then the distance covered, if here we just want to show that anything which is moving with the some speed, then how this speed is calculated. This speed is calculated by the distance upon time. We can say how much distance he has covered in how much time. We then we can talk about the speed. Now there are the different tools which used previously to measure the time. There is a one that is called the water clock, by which initially we measure the time, and another is sundials by which we basically measure the times when there is a no digital clocks are available. And here this talk about here you can go through this a water clock, or this is another things that is called the place clips dra, Greek. It is a Greek word, clips dra, and to still, that means to still, or water is any time pieces in which and the time is measured, regulated flow of liquid into inflow type or out from outflow type, a vessel where the amount is then measured. If you want to measure any kind of the things, here the water clock is made here, and this there is a one part where the water is coming from here, and this by and this is the part by in which that water is passing, and here the whatever the uh, uh, want, the objects wants to uh, calculate whatever the objects are there, and that how much that should be stored in this box. Now what happened when you put some water from here, and this flows from here particular time, it will take the particular time, and this time should be measured. They made up of two containers here, also given here, water trips, that is this part, this is the water trips, and from the higher container to the lower container, and there is a higher container, this part is a higher container, and this part is a lower container. The point at which the water is collected uh, rises a floating device that is mentioned here. This is a floating device. Water is collected floating device which triggers the pointer to marks the hour. Now there is a some whatever the amount of water uh, we want to collect in a particular from this object, then there is a time, this much of water uh, will that much of the water will flow from here, that is called the these clock work better than the sundial because they were able to tell time at a night. The sundial is basically a kind of the instrument which work only in um, daytime, and whenever uh, the sunlight uh, um, put on the that dial, at that time they shows their time. But this water clock is basically measure the time of night also. In the later years, these clocks were adopted by the American Indians. Basically, there are some American Indians who adopted this kind of the clock. Now, the when we talk about the sundials, and the sundials is basically kind of the Egyptian measured the time when Egyptian, there are some um, Egyptians who has measured the time with the help of the sundial, the time of day by using the sundial. The sundial really rely on the sun. This is basically in presence of sun to tell the time. These earlier timekeepers discovered that hours are shortened in winter Since sun set in winter very soon. That's why they found that the winter hours is less shorter compared to the summer hours. The sundials can only be used during the day to till time means the availability of the sun. After a while, the Egyptian and other ancient society realized that sun rose and set in different places in summer and winter. That means these the different places have different um, at different time the sun rises and sun set. That's why this is the things which comes in the Egyptians and other Asian society. And in fact, the sun never took the same course on any one day. They also realized that the sun never took the same course on any one day throughout the year. They tried everything until they realized that if they could just put the post of the sundial in the special angle, it would work for all year. They have posted that the sundial at a particular angle, and that time basically provides the reflection, and whatever the reflections are coming on that particular time, that basically provide the time. So this is the way by which the things are measured. Now here the three important things which we have discussed here. Number one is measurement, second part is motion, and third part is time measuring. In time measuring, only you have to understand about what are the different ancient tool to measure the sun, the time, and that is the one part which we very are aware about, that is the clocks and the digital clocks which is available right now. And prior to that, the Asian peoples use the sundials and water clocks. These are the other ways by which the and other things by which we also use the, and that is called that the sand which is put on a particular kind of the box, and one box is filled with the sand, and another box which is joined, and there is a in between there is a hole, the second box which is a blank. And after some time, how much that much of sand is coming from the first box to another blank boxed, and by which we measure the time. And water clock, I have already told you. There is another sundial which is used in Egyptians. These are the things which we have discussed. Now what you have to do, you have to write down the important point, like what is the meaning of measurement, what is the meaning of unit, and what is the difference between measurement and unit. What are the different ancient measuring tools, like cubit, hand span, and if you want to gilli danda, these kind of the things which is used to measure the length and distance. There is a the correct measurement also. You have to write how the correct measurement performed, and how the curved lines are measured. This is the measuring part. Now when we talk about the motion part, what is motion, why the motions are necessary, uh, what is the history behind it, we have to some give some brief introduction about the history. Also, types of motion, how many types of motion and what are the different definitions of these types, as well as what is the different examples of the different types of motions we have to understand. Now the when we talk about the measuring the time, we have to understand what is time, and again the times is measured in a second, and in ancient time what are the tools are used to make a measure the time, and these things are essential to note down in your copy. Also, since all the related questions are available in your notes, to identify the correct the answer from your notes, write all these question answer given in your book. And this much is for today's. We will meet next class with the new topic, and that is your light and shadow. Till the day, till the time, enjoy by doing the given work. Thank you for today's session.